tonight's topic will be dealing with strained relationships. And here on the panel we have Charles David Hodge, Morel Preston, and all the way from Lorain, Ohio, we have Montrell Curry. Tonight we'll be discussing strained relationships, and here on the panel, the guests tonight have somewhat a familiar story. Their strained relationships has been with their fathers. And tonight we'll hear from these three as they give their testimony. Actually, we have some that, well, no, not we have some. Morel actually just met her father a month ago. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But first I'd like to start off is, how do we end up in a strained relationship? What are some of the results of a strained relationship? Anger.
Dissatisfied throughout your whole life and not being able to have that other parent there to give you advice or even talk to you.
I would say anger also.
Anger also. It seems like with the males, it seems like we hear of a lot of anger. Was that some of your story also, Morel, or was it more something another?
It was anger, animosity, you can say, in a way, because
Let's speak a little bit.
I didn't understand why I never had a father. I always wanted to talk to him or even have a conversation with him, have a relationship with him, because I knew I had a sister, and I wasn't understanding why I never was, he never reached out to me, and I knew he spoke to her. I knew he had a wife, raised her kids, like his wife's kids, and not understanding why I, out of all people, was the one who he didn't want to reach out to or even speak to.
So did you feel pretty much rejected, like an
Yes.
outcast?
Yes.
Has that been any of your stories? What about you, Montrell? Did you feel like an outcast?
Not necessarily an outcast, but I felt like I always had questions like why? Why isn't my dad always around? Why do I have to go to a baseball game and not see my dad sitting in the stands and stuff like that? So not necessarily an outcast.
Okay, so you had just a lot of questions. Did any of you ask, like, your other parent, like your mom or someone else that may have been raising you, why this person was absent from your lives?
Yes, I always ask that question.
Was the answer, was you satisfied with the answer, or?
I'm satisfied with the answer, because the answer wasn't like he was saying, like he was in jail or anything. He was out there, but he just didn't want to be a part of my life or necessarily our life,
So, would it have been better for you if any of you, if he would have been in jail?
I feel like
Would you
yes,
have been
yes, because I would have been able to talk to him. I would have been able to see him. I would have been able to at least have a conversation, at least have a relationship with him, or even at least have met him. And for me, I've never met him except for another one.
Okay. Now for you, David, who is my brother, we grew up with our parents married, so our dad was in the home. But I did, I lived in the same home, and I did know that there was some issues there. At the time growing up, I never really looked at it all that much until I got to be an adult, and I kind of seen some of the effects that it did have on you. But for Montrell and Morel saying it was the absence and the whys, here you have your father was in the home. What was it for you that you felt like caused the strain in the relationship between you and Dad?
Well, like you said, he was in the home, but like Montrell Curry said, we never threw the football around in the yard, out to a football game. He never came to my games. It was just that I never really said anything about it, but as a little kid, as a little boy growing up, you would want that father-son relationship, and that it wasn't there for me,
How did that make y'all feel as a small child?
raised, and the mom and the dad is there, which, of course, I feel that void because he's not there. And I kind of felt sad at points in my life, you know.
Did you ever have other kids ask you where your dad was at times?
No.
No. Montreal, you?
Nah.
What about you, David?
No, no, not really. No, no.
So here we have similar situations, and then we think about, I know that Montreal and Morel, maybe you two probably would have looked at David like, or me or myself, oh, y'all got y'all's dad, y'all got y'all's dad. But sitting here hearing from him, because I didn't really have that much, it didn't really affect me to the degree that it affected David, because usually girls hang out with their mom, you know, and I did have that, you know, I had my mom, but actually my mom really did both, because, you know, my mom, everybody knows she a big football fan, don't even call her after church on Sunday, y'all know, y'all already know, right? She's a football fan, and I believe that most of that came from probably trying to fill the void of my dad not being there with my brother, because it wouldn't be me and mom sitting there watching Little House on the Prairie. It'd be her and David watching the football game.
Exactly, because like I said, when I played football, my mom was there. My mom was there.
Thank God.
And also, on that note, now I wouldn't expect my mom to like go in the backyard and work on what I need to work on as far as, and I tried to use that a couple of times, use you to do that a couple of times in the backyard, but you wouldn't want to play with me. But far as like, okay, I see what you need to work on, you know, or even teaching me the game before, you know, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I see, like he sees something, maybe something at practice I need to work on. It wasn't there for me, you know. And like you said, me and mom, we watch football games to no end. So yeah, my mom was and I thank God my mom was on the sideline for every game. Made sure I went to practice, and yeah. So it was a kind of a void that was filling right there also. But I always wanted that, you know, it's that male figure.
So no matter how much the mom tries to do, because a lot of people, and I did it with my own kids too, I tried to fill some of the voids and things like that. But do we ever really fill the void?
No.
You can't. No matter how much mommy tried, it still wasn't him.
Right.
And I'm sure with your mom probably bent over backwards to try to fill that void, because as a mother, it has to hurt to see your kids have all these questions and you try to answer them the best of your knowledge, or you try to fill the void yourself. I struggle with that. There's been times that I've sugarcoated some things for my kids when I didn't really be 100% honest with them with some of the things that their dad may or may not have done. But listening to, and again, I'm going back to this, a lot of times people that don't have their dad per se present in their life, they look at others' families and they'll see a dad, but just because a dad is there physically don't mean that they're there mentally. Because a lot of times he was there, but half the time they'd sleep. He had been out 3 or 4 days, and back then, you know, hustling is still hustling, and we would only see him. And, you know, for me, myself, seemed like that the only interaction me and him had was if I got in trouble. You know, he was there to be the disciplinary. Or if he had a nice win at the gambling table, you know, he was in a good mood. But don't let him lose, you know, things like that. But as far as, like you said, going places, showing up at school and things like that, well, you know, I was getting in trouble at school, so I ain't want nobody showing up at the school. But like you said, you want them to come to the plays and things like that. And a lot of times we as mothers, we make the mistake thinking that we can fill this void that wasn't there for us to fill. Now we can do the best we can to try to raise, single parents, we can try to do the best we can to try to raise our kids. But I want to go here. Do you think that it's possible for a woman to raise a male child?
I've always said a woman can't raise a man. But my grandmother and sometimes my mom, they raised me into the man that I am today. So touch with my, I wouldn't say, I don't want to say feminine side. I'm in touch with that other side, and I think it's because of my grandmother and because of my mom or whatnot. But
Y'all gotta help me with this feminine. I have never. Would you explain that to me? What is this feminine side?
feminine side, like being, I ain't gonna say girly, but being soft.
Yeah.
Or being sensitive, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay, let's go sensitive. Don't say soft. So with that side, are you saying that you were able to deal with your daughters or your wife in a more sensitive manner versus more of aggressive manner, maybe? Is that what we're saying? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. All right. So now you look what I have shared with them to give their outlook on what you had talked about as far as us having our dad in the home. Now that you've heard them, do you kind of see there's still kind of that same void? So is it really that if you get raised and your parents are married, it'll be cool, you won't have these issues? Or if you're raised by a single parent, you'll have these issues? Really, it seems like the common denominator should be if you're not raising your kids with the foundation of Jesus Christ, then things like this will occur. Now, my mom was in church every time the door, her and her sister was in church every time the door was open. And Monica, you already know we was in church 24/7. But my dad wasn't in church. And I'm just going to keep it 100. He was not in church. And again, we have married couple with 2 children. Dad physically there, but absent. 2 children. One was raised by mom, by herself. And then one was raised by grandmother, by herself. And similar issues. So again, I believe it's we need that foundation. And if you can't build on the foundation of Jesus Christ, what do we have? What do we have? We don't have anything. So that's this. So we can see that it results from being absent. Like you said, fathers are absent. Rejection. You felt rejected. Abandonment. Did anybody feel abandoned?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't feel abandoned. It's like you said, my father was in the house, and
you look just like me. You look just like your daddy, don't you?
And,
you hear me say you look just like your daddy.
And younger, going back to, I never went to my mom and asked where was Dad at? He knew the game schedule. He knew. I never did that.
Did you do it internally?
I don't think I don't know. No. It's not until I got a little older that I started looking back, and I would say probably when I hit adulthood, maybe I started to wonder. And a couple times now, I wish I would have had that father-son relationship, But like I said, as I was growing up, I never went to my mom and asked, pouting, why wasn't Dad here? Why would I
Did
never.
you do any pout? Did you ever do that? No.
I didn't necessarily pout, but I did have questions from time to time.
Maybe it was the reason. Maybe for me is I got used to it. I know what I know what to expect. I know. Okay, he's not coming.
Was there times at the game that you would actually look back just to see maybe if this time he might come this time?
When I first started, I did that. But like as I got older and started playing more, I wasn't looking back for him. I was looking to see where Mom was at. Where was she? Because like when my nephew didn't play football, you was on the sideline with me. I ran up and down the sideline with him. So as we moved, I was looking to see where Mom was at. She would come down the sideline too. She didn't do all running like I did, but she was there. She was there. So that helped me out a lot. That
teenager, but for a while, like for some years, I always knew my mother. My mother was my mom and my dad. So for a while, it really didn't dawn on me to ask. Didn't bother me to even say anything about my dad.
When you say your mom was your mom and your dad, and I've heard that a lot, and I'm not going to even, I might have used it myself. But moms can't be dads because we don't know nothing. I don't care how much we try to be the dad. And you know, everybody get these shout outs on Father's Day. They shouting out to these women, Happy Father's Day, and we saying it to each other. I ain't got a male bone in my body. I cannot be a man. We are not men. The only thing we can do is be the best mothers that we possibly can. Okay. We have a couple questions. Actually, a question came in for you, Morel. How did you feel when you met your dad?
To be honest, it was on my mind for a long time to find my father, and eventually, of course, I got around to do it. And when I met him, I was kind of nervous. I was scared, afraid of talking to him and him not wanting to talk to me, and feeling that rejection again because I'm like, okay, I found you, I reached out to you, but now are you going to reject me again? Because even though you know who I am, talk to me, have a conversation with me. I could say I was nervous, scared, had all the feelings in the world. Didn't know how to do it because I had his number for maybe 3 days and was still scared to call him, still scared to even speak to him, or it came to my mind like, what do I say? Do I say hi, Dad? Or do I say hi, Jeff? You know, what do you say to someone who you never met, but you know that that's your dad? What do you say to them?
Wow, that's interesting, Morel. It's interesting that you said that because, again, okay, yeah, he's my dad, but like you said, do I say hi, Dad, or hi, Jeff? Because, again, you don't know him.
Exactly.
But respect tells us that's your dad.
Exactly.
But really, is he really Jeff? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But, again, you were struggling with what do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Have you ever felt?
I prayed about it. I prayed about just God give me the strength to give me the right words to say. Because when I get on the phone, what was I going to say? Why weren't you? Was that the first thing I was going to say? Why weren't you in my life? Why didn't I know
But
you
did you
for 25
want to say
years?
that though?
Yes, I wanted to. But the first thing and actually, I had his number for 3 days, and he called me.
Oh, that's.
You know, he called me. The first thing I said was, "Hey, Dad," because I was excited because he called me, and that meant something to me because it been on my mind for a while, and I wanted to speak to him. And when he called me, I felt a little relief, you know, because he did call me. He did want to reach out to me. He did want to at least engage in the conversation and go forth on with the relationship now.
Okay, I want to come back to a little bit of that because actually we've gotten ahead of ourselves. Hearing Morel say, hi, Dad, hi, Jeff, have any of you struggled with that dad issue? He ain't no dad. Have you ever struggled with maybe disrespect as you got older? Like, you know, when we're kids, we still have that level of fear. But when we get 16 and 17 and we get to being what I call Billy Bad, but
Yeah.
you know, to use the other word, but
I didn't feel that way because, like you said, our parents was in the home. So it wasn't like I wasn't seeing him. I didn't see him for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, he was still my father to me. He was still dad to me. So it wasn't like, well, what do I call you? Do I call you Charles? Or what do I call him, Charles? but no, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that for me. Like I said, he was in the home. It was just, I don't know.
probably because we were saying dad from birth,
dad,
we know better.
He was there, you know.
What about for you, Montreal? Did you struggle with dad, father?
I never struggled with it because I was always afraid of him.
That's what we were.
Like you said, he seemed like he always came around, was always there no matter what, whenever we used to get in trouble. So, but I think about it now, I was very disrespectful towards my mom. I used to always call my mom by her name. I did that for years until I got probably like in my 20s
sometimes when you're in your room and you're thinking about these issues and why he ain't do this, why he ain't do that, you know how we wouldn't verbally say it to their face, but you know how you get behind the door and be like, because I used to do that when my mom slammed the door. Was there times where you internalized that, some of those words of what you really, really, really wanted to say?
Yeah.
Well,
What about when you came from a game and he was there at the house, chilling?
no, because like Montreal said, it was that fear. You know.
I'm not saying say it to him.
Oh.
You know me like, you see him walk past the door, he just up in there chilling. Oh, he could have came to my game. You know, that kind of stuff.
I go back to this. I don't think I ever thought about it because it was that, I think that fear.
Well,
My dad, but
I was thinking it for you.
No, it wasn't fear. It wasn't, I mean, it was that fear. I didn't say it because at that time probably I just expected it. I just expected it. And
I can say I have talked to my girlfriends, like my friends, and I told them if I see my dad today, I probably would punch him in the face.
Oh, Jesus.
I did.
And that's how you felt.
And that's just how I felt. I probably even told my mom that before. If I see my dad, because I wouldn't know him just walking down the street, I would punch him in the face. You know, just because I felt that way, and that's how I was feeling over some years, because I'm like, I'm not understanding why you...
What would Lisa say when you say, I'm going to punch Daddy in the face?
No,
My
my
grandson
mom's
used to say,
nothing. She just look at me like, yeah, right, you're not going to do that. But she just, wave it off and not think too much about it. But knowing I'm not going to walk up to my dad and punch him in the face. But she knew that that's how I was feeling inside.
You would have probably had to steal on him, though.
Yes,
He told me.
yes, it's good.
You would have had to steal on him. Did you ever blame anybody else besides him? Did you blame your mom? Did you kind of
No, I wouldn't say I blame my mother because at that time when I was younger, of course, I didn't know. I didn't know what the situation was. I didn't know what happened, why he wasn't here, or what happened between them two. So for me, I wouldn't say I never blamed her or anyone else but him.
You blame mommy?
no, I don't. No, I don't.
No, I said, did you?
No, I
scared her.
didn't. No, I didn't. No.
Scared her.
Because like I said, mom was always there. My mom was always
I ain't gonna lie, David, I used to get mad when mom would call me and get us in trouble. That made me mad.
Now that right there, now
That was
goes back to the
wrong.
things you would say in your head. The head thing come back to, now mom, why would you do that? That comes back because the fear. I am not saying it disrespectfully because growing up, mom had a quick right hand too. But it'll be times where I think I say be like, mom,
We rather got more from her than him.
well, mom will hit you everywhere. Now, dad will focus on one area and hit you about 5 good times, and it'll be over with. Mom will just keep swinging. She just keeps
We need
swinging.
a show for her.
Mom just keeps swinging and swinging until she got tired. But yeah, but going back to the point, my mom was always there. My mom was. Now she didn't go in the back and catch the football with me or nothing like that, but she showed up at my games and sometimes practices too because she had to take care of the house also. She was just getting home from work, but she made sure I got off to practice, made sure I had everything, and like I said, every Saturday she was there. She was there.
That's good. Rel, what was it like when the first time you came face to face with your father? And also, before you answer that, with any of you, and I'm not sure about you, David, you might have done it. Usually I know what you be doing. Did you ever sit down with your father and talk? Well, I know you shared that you just met your father. Was there a time that you confronted your dad about some of these issues, or just like David, you kind of just let it, because you let yours go, didn't you?
Yeah, you know what? To my knowledge, me and my father never really sat down and just talked, about things, about anything. Really, I cannot remember me and him just sitting down, just talking like two men or father and son, or it wasn't. I can never. I can't remember anything like that.
I never been the one to initiate the conversation, but there's been times when he said that situation with him and my mother, with him and my mom didn't work out, and that's why he wasn't always around because they were always at it back and forth. So, I mean, even to this day, there's some things that we haven't talked about. We might have joked around about certain things, but we never really sat down and had like a deep conversation about issues that we may have had growing up.
When you say joked around, was it really a joke for you?
To a certain extent.
Was you like kind of, is that your way of kind of sneaking little pop shots in?
Yeah.
Because that fear's still there. That fear's still there, so you just kind of, when you sneak, when you have, is it sneak or snuck? Tomato. When you snuck, right, snuck? When you snuck some of those pop shots in, did he acknowledge them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shut up. Okay. Burrell, back to you. What was it like the first time you came face to face? I know you had a lot of anxiety.
I have never.
You didn't punch him.
I have never came face to face, ma'am.
Oh, you haven't had face to face?
No, not
Just
yet.
phone conversations.
Yes, just phone conversation as of right now. But we are supposed to be meeting the end of April. So.
Why so long in advance? Just does he not live? He's not
No,
local?
yes, he lives in California. I mean Carolina.
Okay,
And
okay, I get it.
he's not coming up here until, of course, in April.
Okay, and no punching. We're not punching.
No.
Okay.
No.
Lisa, make
No,
sure
no
no
punching.
punching. Okay, let's. It looks like we got like 1,000 questions. Let's go to the audience's question. Is there any advice you can give a child that might be going through this?
Keep your head up. I say keep your head up and don't let the situation of the other half of your other parent not being there determine on who you are and as a person or who you are in your life.
Don't hold animosity in towards that person because it might come out on the wrong person.
When you say the wrong person, are you saying taking it out on other people?
Yeah.
Okay. Or a parent who may not recognize the hurt they are causing. What would you say to a parent
Talk to your
who
kids.
may not
Yeah.
Talk to
recognize?
your kids, pick their brains.
Talk to the
Talk to you.
Or at least have a relationship if you don't
Okay.
commits to do so.
How is your relationship with your kids? I was going to actually, we were getting to that. Because society would say a person that grew up without their dad and all those things, that they would actually repeat the cycle. That's not what's happening here on this panel. I know for my brother, his daughter is his world. Where you see him, you see her. Dominic don't do no wrong. No wrong. Dominic. And most of the time, you don't see men with their daughters like you see him with him, because you might get him every other weekend, or you might stop by there, and some of them only mess with the kid if they can still mess with the mama, right? But he's got Dominique all the time. Anytime there's a break, it ain't just every other weekend. Dominique is at the crib right now, right? Waiting for you. Wanted to come. Well, you'll be picking her up in a few minutes.
She's here. She's here.
Okay. Heidi. Okay. Well, David has Dominique all the time, and when your Dominique's mother was pregnant, did you think that you would be a good father, or did you make it up in your mind?
Yes. I already knew. I was going to be there for my daughter no matter what. I figured at the time when we got married, I had in my mind that my daughter is going to be the first thing I see, first thing she sees when she lay down, and the first thing when she wake up. But now it's just that just because me and her mom is divorced now, that don't stop anything. She's still my daughter. So that doesn't stop anything. You know, and like you said, I love my daughter to death. I love her to death.
And you are raising her on the foundation of who?
God.
a woman necessarily can't teach a young boy how to be a man. So it's very important for their dad to, and he is in their life, to be in their life growing up as they want to, however old, until they grow old. And I think that's a very adamant statement or importance that their dad is in their life, because I didn't have my dad. And their dad didn't have their dad, his dad. So at the same time, we're like adamant on making sure they are very well taken care of and that they do have that father figure so they can grow up as young gentlemen, men under the God.
We have all seen you with your children, and the way you look at Montasia, and both your daughters, but especially Montasia because she's the oldest, and I know you was just scared about her dating and all that. I just feared for her. I just know how much he loves his children.
Well, and that's one thing that I'm struggling with right now is my oldest daughter, because she's at that point in her life where she's attracted to boys or whatnot.
Oh Jesus!
So it's like one of those things where, like, I want to make sure that she's not looking. She doesn't try to go out and find the love that she's supposed to get from me.
And also, you're mentoring some kids, also, aren't you?
But I think I sometimes I overdo it with trying to make sure that me and her is close, because I be wanting to know too much stuff. I want to know too much stuff, and I mean I know.
But is that okay?
No, not necessarily, because once she starts telling me, I'm like, well, no, I don't want to know. So I'd rather her talk to her mom than actually talk to me about something.
Do you sneak and ask Bree what they talk about?
All the time.
So that some of the stuff makes you uncomfortable, but look how she was willing to give you that information. I know I wasn't telling my dad or mom. That's another show.
Well, see, and another thing I worried about, and it happened actually, is she held something from us, and not necessarily, I don't think she had a problem telling her mom, but when I asked her why didn't she tell me, she said because she thought I was gonna go crazy.
Would you?
I was actually. My wife first told me, but then I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and sat down and had a good conversation with her. So
Yeah. That's good. All men are not dogs. Sometimes they're just misfit. They're not in the right situation. But again, society says that you will repeat what was done to you, and we clearly see here that is not the case. So you do not have to become a victim of your circumstance. We have seen that. And you do not have to repeat the same cycle that was repeated on you. You can choose today to break that cycle. Now we're going to shift over to our devotional piece. And tonight's devotional is going to I'm going to give you some history. We're going to be talking about two brothers that had a strained relationship, and those two brothers are Jacob and Esau. And I'm sure we're all familiar with that. And if we're not familiar with that, Genesis chapters 32 and 33 gives us a little background on what took place with these two brothers. What took place with these two brothers is, number one, the parents favored one or the other child. Rebecca, who is Jacob's and Esau's mother, she favored Jacob. The father favored Esau. So we already knew that there was some issues about to brew with that situation. And how many times have you been in a situation, audience members, where it seems like the sibling, one of your siblings was favored more than you? Basically, the background of this is Jacob had tricked his brother Esau out of his birthright. He done this with the help of his mother. They devised a plan. He dressed up as he was his brother. I mean, they really did it. He dressed up as his brother and tricked his father into blessing him instead of Esau. Of course, when that brother found out, he was just like we would be, upset, angry, and he was plotting to kill his brother. Because basically, a birthright was your inheritance. So basically, this boy pretty much stole his life. His life. So then we're going to move into tonight's topic we're going to pick up in Genesis chapter 32 and 33, and tonight's devotional is called Give It Some Time and Space. Jacob, after he had did what he did to his brother, his mother knew that there was going to be some issues and had him sent away to live with her brother. So 20 years later, speeding things up, 20 years later, Jacob is now returning home and going to face his brother for the first time. Can you imagine what he must feel, all the anxiety that he must feel? Just like you said, when it was time to face your dad, all them years you was wondering all about your dad, but then when it came time, you was feeling all this anxiety. So Jacob had been gone for 20 years. He's ready to make contact with his brother. Verse 3 through 5, Jacob sends messengers hoping to find favor with his brother. First point, feel the person out. Don't just run up on them. Just because you're ready to make contact don't mean that they are. Ask others first about it before, and get a feel for the situation, because a lot of times if you're the perpetrator, if you're the one that's been absent, don't just assume after so many years or some time has lapsed that it's okay to just run up into somebody's life. Because, Morel's father contacted her. She was receptive because she had already been thinking about making contact with him. But what if it was a few years back and she was still in her anger mode? Or what if he would have just popped up at the door? And remember how Morel said, "Oh, punched him." You gotta make sure that you, just like Jacob did. Jacob sent messengers to him, trying to fill him out. Find out if I have favor. Find out if we cool. He's still mad or whatever. So sometimes when you're the person that's trying to make peace, don't run up on them because they may not be ready for that. Maybe send somebody, maybe send a friend or somebody that knows that person, kind of get a feel from where they're at with this situation. Because a lot of times, some of the damage that we do in these relationships, some people ain't ready to get over them just yet. Amen? Amen. Then in verse 6, it says, the messengers returned to tell Jacob that Esau is coming to meet him with a slew of people. Can you imagine what he was feeling? Here he come with a whole bunch of people. He didn't send no message back. The servants came back and said, we gave him your message, but he on his way. Can you imagine? You done did all this dirt to this person, but now I'm on my way. The response that you are hoping for may not come the way you plan for it to come. So just because you sent a message, you might not get a message back. That person might come and see you. The person that you did whatever you did to them, they might show up at your doorstep. They may come, instead of sending you a message, they might come and see you. So again, the response you are hoping for may not come the way you planned for it to come. For example, you may send back a message. They may not send back a message. They may not respond. They may choose to meet you and they may bring some people with them. Like Morel, for instance, she could have said, well, I don't know how you're going to do it. Are you going to meet him alone or are you going to bring your mama?
I was bringing the whole crew. My mom.
See, she bringing the whole crew. So what's his name again? Dad, she coming with the whole crew, mama, cousins, all of them. So again, Esau came with a whole bunch of people. So don't be surprised. Because sometimes the person that you did the wrong to, they may not feel comfortable just meeting with you. So they may want to come, or you may be that person that if someone is reaching out to you to make things right with you, it's okay. Bring your sister, bring somebody if you're not comfortable. Because again, some stuff has transpired here, and you may not be 100% ready. They may not be 100% ready, but maybe that second person or somebody that you bring with you may be that buffer to kind of make sure everything goes along. Maybe bring somebody so you won't, when somebody see your fist get ready, maybe somebody might hold your fist, So verse 6 and 7, Jacob had great fear and was stressed and divided the people and his flocks and all his animals who were with him into two groups, thinking that if his brother attacks one group, the other group has a chance to get away. So again, Jacob is the one that was in the wrong, but he had a plan. Okay, here he comes, but look, this is what we're going to do, because if he coming to do this, I got this plan. So again, we don't know how that person may be coming back to us. They might be angry, like you said, you might be ready to fight or whatever. But again, be prepared. when coming face to face can be scary and stressful, especially not knowing what to expect. Be prepared for whichever way it may go. Jacob had a plan in case Esau tried to attack him. Prepare yourself just in case it don't go the way you would like. Verse 9 through 11, before Esau got there, Jacob prayed, asking God to intervene on his behalf, asking for safety and protection of his family and friends. Jacob first reminded God that he had told him to return to his country and relatives. Always remember to pray and ask God to intervene. There may be times where God tells you or leads you to do something to return, get this back together, restore this relationship. But when you go to do it, just because it don't look favorable, you may become afraid. You may be stressed behind it about the situation, but pray anyway. Pray again and share with God those anxieties, those fears, and those things like that. Continue to pray through this whole process because, again, this is a strained relationship. This is not something that just happened overnight. This is something that has been traumatic for you. It has affected your lives, correct? Also, Jacob selected a gift. He had for his brother. That's verse 13 through 16. Don't go empty-handed, Dad. Bring him a real gift. Bring somebody a gift. Don't go empty-handed. Gifts are nice gestures. Aren't they? Don't we like gifts? And then jumping down to chapter 33, Jacob vowed when he sees Esau, and he bows down 7 times as he approaching Esau. Your posture should always be humility. Especially if you are the one in the wrong. Be humble about it. Don't come in because Montrell's dad could have very well been like, oh, you tripping, man. That was told last year or that was so when you was young. Get over it. No, you come humbly. I'm sorry. I've grown. I'm not the same person I used to be. Be humble about it. Don't be thinking just because this has been your child that you got the right to say something off the chain. Oh, God, well, Morel, I'm your dad, and I demand respect. Be humble about it. Okay? Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him and kissed him, and they wept. That's verse 4. The person just might be as eager to restore the relationship as you are. So if you have wronged someone as a result of a relationship that has become strained, you have attempted to restore the relationship, and the other person is not willing to do so, continue to pray and give it some more time. In the meantime, choose to forgive yourself and move on. So as we're coming to a close, I want each one of you quickly. If you know someone that may be hurt and just feel like they can't move past it, what are some of the advice that you would give just real quickly?
As I said earlier, keep your head up. Stay strong, continue to pray. Because as you were saying earlier, I continued to pray about it, and it was on my mind to find him. Mm-hmm. So I just keep saying, keep your head up and continue to pray.
What about young men that are dealing with this anger about this absent father or absent mother or somebody, any type of person that's absent in their life that they feel that should have been there? What do you say to that young man or that adult man now that is still dealing with this anger, and maybe some of the anger they're using it on other people? What would you say to that person?
Just know that you know how it feels to feel the way that you do feel. So don't treat your little ones, if you have little ones, or somebody else that's close to you in your life, the way that your father or your mother may have treated you, because you know how that feels. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want them to feel like that, then you're going to make sure that you do everything that they may not have done, or not do everything that they did.
And what has helped you with your anger?
A lot of praying.
Praying. That's key. A lot of people say, I'm going to the gym to release some anger. So you said prayer. And David, as we're closing?
I would say stay in prayer. Mm-hmm. And like you said, if you have little ones, don't continue that cycle. The cycle can't stop. Mm-hmm. And it can stop with you, Right. And we also got to learn to forgive too.
Yeah. Yes, and as we leave again, break the cycle tonight, and my heart goes out to the victim and the perpetrator. If you're one that has caused the strain, humble yourself. Allow some time, allow some space, and just because they're not accepting right now, try again. And in the meantime, forgive yourself and move on. Tonight I would like to thank our sponsors. I'd like to thank the Liberty Hill Baptist Church, Overflow Ministries, Delroy Moses, Jasmine Moore, Orb Consulting, and the KW crew.